Rain tapped softly against the boutique windows. Outside, downtown Chicago shimmered beneath thousands of reflections, turning every passing headlight into ribbons of silver across the wet pavement. Inside, Sophia Bennett adjusted the final display in her shop with trembling hands. She stepped backward, smiled, then quietly wiped away a tear before anyone could see it. After 10 years of sewing dresses for luxury fashion houses that sold gowns for $20,000 while paying her barely enough to cover rent, she finally had her own boutique. Not on Fifth Avenue, not inside a glamorous shopping district. Just one beautiful little corner storefront nestled between an old bookstore and a quiet Italian cafe. To Sophia, it was perfect. Above the entrance, elegant gold lettering reflected in the glass. Bennett Atelier. She whispered the words aloud, as if saying them made them real. My boutique. The sound of the bell above the door interrupted her. Her best friend Emma stepped inside carrying 2 coffees. I knew I'd find you talking to the walls. Sophia laughed. I wasn't talking to the walls. No? Emma handed her a cup. I distinctly heard someone practicing an Oscar acceptance speech. Sophia rolled her eyes. I was thanking the universe. Emma looked around the boutique. Cream-colored walls, walnut wood displays, crystal chandeliers, soft jazz floating through hidden speakers. Every dress had been designed by Sophia herself. Each one carried a handwritten tag describing the inspiration behind it. Emma smiled. You know what's dangerous? What? This place actually looks expensive. Sophia laughed. It wasn't. Emma raised an eyebrow. You spent your entire inheritance. I invested it. You mortgaged your apartment. I believed in myself. You sold your grandmother's jewelry. Silence. Sophia looked toward the largest display near the front window. A single blue dress stood alone on an antique mannequin. Simple, elegant, nothing extravagant. Soft sapphire fabric, hand-embroidered sleeves, classic silhouette, completely different from every designer gown surrounding it. Emma followed her gaze. You still won't sell that one? Sophia shook her head. No. Even now? It isn't for sale. Emma smiled knowingly. You've said that for years. Sophia slowly walked toward the mannequin. Her fingertips brushed across the fabric. My mother made this dress. Emma's smile disappeared. Sophia continued quietly. She finished sewing it the night before she died. The boutique became silent. I don't even remember wearing it. You were only 5. Sophia nodded. But every photograph of us, she smiled sadly. I'm wearing this dress. Emma gently squeezed her shoulder. Then keep it. I always will. Closing time arrived. No customers. Not one. Sophia forced herself to remain optimistic. It's only the first day. Emma hugged her tightly before leaving. You'll sell out before Christmas. Sophia laughed. From your lips to God's ears. The boutique emptied. Outside, rain became heavier. She locked the front door, turned off most of the lights. Only the blue dress remained illuminated beneath the display spotlight. She stared at it for several long seconds, then quietly whispered, Good night, Mom. Across the city, a convoy of black SUVs rolled silently through downtown Chicago. Traffic seemed to move around them instinctively. Inside the center vehicle, Damiano De Luca sat alone. No music, no conversation, only silence. Marco Romano, his oldest advisor, glanced up from a tablet. Your schedule tomorrow. Damiano looked out the rain-covered window. I'm listening. Meeting with the mayor. Silence. Casino negotiations. Silence. Private auction. Silence again. Margot Sahil, you haven't heard a word. I have. No, you've been staring out the window for 15 minutes. Damiano finally spoke. What street is this? Marco checked. Madison. Damiano's eyes narrowed slightly. Stop. The convoy immediately pulled over. Marco frowned. What happened? Damiano was already opening the door. I'll be back. The rain soaked his tailored black coat almost immediately. Bodyguards instinctively followed. Damiano raised one hand. No. They stopped. Allone. He crossed the street. Marco watched from the SUV. Curious. Damiano never wandered without reason. Never. He finally stopped in front of a small boutique. Warm light glowed through the display windows. He wasn't looking at the gowns, or the jewelry, or the elegant storefront. His eyes locked onto one thing, the blue dress. Everything around him disappeared. The traffic, the rain, the city. For the first time in over 20 years, Damiano's heartbeat became uneven. His fingers slowly tightened at his sides. Impossible. His breathing became noticeably slower. The embroidery, the tiny white flowers sewn into the sleeves, the sapphire fabric, every stitch, every detail, exactly the same. A memory slammed into him. 24 years earlier, rain, fire, screaming. A frightened little girl stood outside a burning church, wearing a tiny blue dress. She clutched a stuffed rabbit against her chest. A woman knelt beside her. Blood stained her white blouse. She looked at 16-year-old Damiano with desperate eyes. If I don't make it. She pressed a silver locket into his hand. Find my daughter. Young Damiano shook his head. No, you have to promise. I'll save both of you. She smiled weakly. You can't. Another explosion. The church roof collapsed. The woman pushed the little girl toward a rescue worker, then looked back one final time. Promise me. Damiano nodded. I promise. Moments later, the flames consumed everything. The little girl disappeared into the chaos. He never found her again. Back in the present, Damiano reached toward the boutique window. His fingertips barely touched the cold glass. His reflection merged with the blue dress. Marco quietly approached. What is it? Damiano never looked away. I found it. Marco frowned. What? The dress. Confusion. What dress? Damiano's voice dropped almost to a whisper. The one I've been searching for. The next morning, Sophia unlocked the boutique. She smiled, then froze. Every display window was covered with fresh white roses. Hundreds of them. No delivery truck. No florist. No note. Just flowers. Beautiful. Elegant. Mysterious. Customers immediately gathered outside. Phones appeared. Photos were taken. People whispered. Who sent them? Is someone proposing? Is it a celebrity? Sophia looked around, completely confused. I didn't order these. Then she noticed something tucked beneath the bouquet surrounding the blue dress. A single ivory envelope. No stamp. No name. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened it. Inside, only one sentence had been written in elegant black ink. Don't ever sell the blue dress. No signature. No explanation. Only those 6 words. Sophia looked up instinctively. Across the street, a tall man in a perfectly tailored black suit stood beside a waiting black SUV. For only a heartbeat. Their eyes met. His expression remained unreadable. Calm. Controlled. Almost haunted. Then he entered the vehicle. The convoy disappeared into morning traffic. Sophia remained frozen in the doorway. She had never seen the man before. But somehow, the way he looked at that blue dress felt less like recognition, and more like a promise that had waited 24 years to be fulfilled. Sophia barely slept. The ivory envelope remained on her kitchen table. She must have read the handwritten sentence 100 times. Don't ever sell the blue dress. No signature, no explanation. Just 6 words that somehow felt deeply personal. She kept asking herself the same question. Why that dress? It wasn't the most expensive piece in her boutique. It wasn't the most fashionable. It wasn't even displayed for sale. It simply held the last memory of her mother. How could a complete stranger know that? The following morning, the rain had disappeared. Golden sunlight poured through the boutique windows. For the first time since opening day, customers filled the shop. Women admired the gowns. Couples wandered through the displays. Fashion bloggers took photographs. Business was finally beginning. Sophia smiled as she wrapped another purchase. Maybe yesterday's mysterious flowers had brought attention to the store. Maybe luck had finally found her. Then, the front door opened. Silence spread through the boutique almost instantly. Not because anyone recognized the man, because everyone instinctively moved aside. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit. No tie. No visible jewelry except a simple platinum watch. Dull, calm, dangerously composed. Behind him entered 4 men dressed just as elegantly. Not security uniforms, not bodyguards, but everyone could feel exactly what they were. Protectors? Sophia looked up. Their eyes met again. The same man from across the street. The same unreadable gray eyes. He didn't smile. He didn't introduce himself. Instead, he slowly walked through the boutique as though visiting an art gallery. His fingertips lightly brushed the fabrics. He studied every dress carefully, not with the eyes of a wealthy buyer, with the eyes of someone searching for memories. Emma leaned toward Sophia. Who is that? I don't know. He looks. Sophia finished the sentence. Expensive, Emma whispered. No. He looks dangerous. The man stopped in front of a deep emerald evening gown. Who designed this? His voice was low, controlled. Sophia stepped forward. I did. He nodded once. And this one? I designed all of them. He continued walking. Every few seconds he stopped. Asked another quiet question. What inspired this dress? What fabric is this? How long did this embroidery take? Unlike ordinary customers, he wasn't shopping. He was learning about her. After nearly 20 minutes, he turned toward one of the men standing behind him. Buy it. The assistant immediately nodded. This one? Yes. They continued. Another dress. Buy it. Another. Buy this one. Then another. And another. Within minutes, every employee inside the boutique stopped working. Every customer stopped browsing. The mysterious billionaire wasn't choosing dresses. He was purchasing all of them, honor be honor, without asking the price, without negotiating, without hesitation. Emma whispered, Is this real? Sophia looked equally stunned. I don't know. The assistant approached the register. I'll purchase the entire collection. Sophia blinked. I'm sorry? Every dress. She laughed nervously. That's impossible. The assistant calmly placed a black credit card on the counter. It isn't. Nearly 2 hours later, the boutique looked completely different. Every rack stood empty. Display mannequins had been cleared. Luxury garment bags covered the marble floor. Employees carefully packaged dozens of handmade gowns. Sophia watched in complete disbelief. 10 years of work, gone in a single afternoon. She should have felt happy. Instead, something felt terribly wrong, because throughout the entire purchase, the mysterious man never once looked interested in owning the dresses. His attention kept returning to the blue dress. Finally, only one mannequin remained, the simple sapphire blue dress. The man slowly walked toward it. The entire boutique became silent. Sophia unconsciously stepped between him and the mannequin. I'm sorry. He looked at her. This one isn't for sale. He studied her face, not arguing, not demanding, simply waiting. Sophia gently rested one hand on the dress. It never has been. Another long silence. Then, for the first time, his expression softened. Barely. Almost impossible to notice. But it was there. Why? He quietly asked. Sophia smiled sadly. My mother made it. He lowered his eyes. I know. Her smile disappeared. What? You've kept it in perfect condition. She frowned. How would you know that? No answer. Instead, he looked at the tiny embroidered flowers near the sleeve. His breathing slowed, as though every stitch carried unbearable memories. Sophia crossed her arms. You've been here before? No. Then, how do you know anything about this dress? His eyes met hers again. For several endless seconds, neither spoke. Finally, he whispered, because I watched someone sew it. The room froze. Sophia stared at him. That's impossible. My mother died 24 years ago. He nodded slowly. I know. Emma looked between them. Neither one seemed to notice anyone else anymore. Only each other. Sophia took one step closer. Who are you? Silence. What is your name? He answered simply. Damiano. Damiano. What? I pause it. Then, De Luca. The boutique fell completely silent. One customer accidentally dropped her shopping bag. Another quietly gasped. Even Emma's face turned pale. Everyone in Chicago knew that name. Damiano De Luca. Business billionaire. Casino owner. Real estate magnate. Philanthropist. Officially, unofficially, the most feared mafia boss in the city. Sophia instinctively stepped backward. She suddenly understood why everyone had moved out of his way. You, she whispered, you're him. His face revealed nothing. I am. You bought everything. Yes, but not this. He looked once more toward the blue dress. No. Why? Another long silence. Then, the words that would change her life forever. That dress, his voice was almost painfully quiet, belonged to someone I promised to find. Sophia looked confused. What are you talking about? He slowly raised his eyes to hers. For the first time, she noticed something extraordinary. The coldest man she'd ever met looked heartbroken. I failed her, he whispered. For 24 years. I failed. Before Sophia could ask another question, the boutique windows exploded. Glass shattered across the marble floor. Customers screamed. Outside, 2 motorcycles raced past the storefront. One rider fired another burst of automatic gunfire toward the entrance. Damiano moved instantly. Without thinking, he grabbed Sophia by the waist, pulled her behind a marble display column. His own body completely covered hers. Bullets tore through clothing racks. Designer mannequins crashed onto the floor. Women screamed. Employees crawled for safety. Emma hid behind the checkout counter. Sophia's heart pounded violently. She could feel Damiano's arm wrapped tightly around her. His voice remained impossibly calm. Stay behind me. She looked up at him. What is happening? His eyes never left the shattered entrance. They found you. What? They were never after me. The realization hit him like a knife. Alessandro Moretti hadn't attacked the boutique because of Damiano. He had attacked because he had seen the blue dress, and if Moretti had recognized it too, then the woman Damiano had spent 24 years searching for was finally in danger. Outside, black SUVs screeched to a halt. Damiano's men poured onto the sidewalk. Gunfire erupted through downtown Chicago. Pedestrians fled in every direction. Sirens echoed in the distance. Inside the boutique, Damiano slowly reached into his coat. Not for a weapon, for an old silver locket he had carried every day for 24 years. He looked down at Sophia, then opened it with trembling fingers. Inside, a faded photograph. A smiling little girl wearing the exact same blue dress. Sophia stared at the picture, then slowly looked at the mannequin, then back at the photograph. Her breathing stopped. The little girl had her face. The photograph slipped from Sophia's trembling fingers. It landed softly on the boutique floor. For several seconds, she couldn't breathe. The little girl smiling inside the faded photograph wore the exact same sapphire blue dress now hanging on the mannequin beside her. The tiny embroidered flowers, the white ribbon around the waist, even the small tear near the left sleeve that her mother had carefully repaired years ago. Every detail matched perfectly. Only one thing frightened Sophia even more. The little girl had her face. Outside, gunfire still echoed through downtown Chicago. Black SUVs surrounded Bennett Atelier from every direction. Men in tailored black suits moved with military precision, forming a protective perimeter around the shattered storefront. Police sirens screamed somewhere in the distance. Pedestrians ran for cover. The boutique had become the center of a war no ordinary fashion designer should ever experience. Inside, Damiano never took his eyes off Sophia. He had imagined this moment thousands of times. For 24 years, he had rehearsed every possible explanation, every apology, every truth. Now that she finally stood in front of him, words refused to come. Sophia slowly picked up the old photograph. Her hands shook so badly she almost dropped it again. Who is she? Damiano answered quietly. You... She immediately shook her head. No, it can't be. My mother never told me. She couldn't. Sophia looked at him. What do you mean? His expression grew heavier. Because she died before she had the chance. Silence. Emma, still crouching behind the checkout counter, watched the two of them with wide eyes. The bodyguards inside the boutique remained perfectly still. Even they understood this conversation mattered more than the gunfire outside. Damiano slowly knelt, not because he feared Sophia, because he wanted to look at her without towering over her. He carefully placed the silver locket on the floor between them. You deserve the truth, Sophia whispered. Then tell me, 24 years earlier, Chicago had been ruled by 3 mafia families: the DeLuca family, the Moretti family, and the Romano family. Their war had already claimed hundreds of lives. One rainy autumn night, a young woman named Claire Bennett became an accidental witness to a massacre outside an old church. She wasn't involved. She was simply driving home with her 5-year-old daughter after attending a charity fundraiser. That little girl wore a handmade blue dress. Claire stopped her car when she saw an injured teenage boy lying near the burning church. 16-year-old Damiano De Luca. Without asking questions, she helped him. Minutes later, Moretti assassins surrounded the church. Claire realized she couldn't save herself, but she could save 2 children. She grabbed Damiano by the shoulders. You listen to me. If I stay with you, they'll kill all of us. She pushed little Sophia into the arms of a firefighter evacuating civilians. Then she turned back toward Damiano. She handed him the silver locket. If we get separated, find my daughter. Damiano nodded desperately. I will. Claire smiled through tears. I believe you. Seconds later, gunfire erupted. Damiano was dragged away by his surviving bodyguards. Sophia disappeared inside an evacuation ambulance. Claire never walked out of the church alive. Back in the present, Sophia wiped away silent tears. I don't remember any of this. You were too young. You searched for me? Damiano laughed bitterly. Every day. You couldn't find me? They changed your identity. Sophia frowned. My uncle adopted me after Mom died. Damiano nodded. He changed your last name 3 times. He moved across 4 states. He believed he was protecting you. And he was... Sophia stared at him. You've been looking for me. All this time, I stopped counting after 20 years. Her heart tightened. You built an empire. And you still searched? Damiano smiled faintly. I made a promise. Marco suddenly entered the damaged boutique. His normally calm face looked unusually tense. Boss. Damiano immediately stood. What happened? We captured one of Moretti's shooters. And? Marco hesitated. He knew about the blue dress. Damiano's eyes darkened instantly. How? We don't know. Marco lowered his voice. But someone close to us is leaking information. The atmosphere changed immediately. Someone had betrayed the DeLuca family. Sophia noticed the change in Damiano's expression. His warmth disappeared. The Mafia Boss returned. Cold, silent, dangerously controlled. She quietly asked, What's wrong? He looked toward the broken windows. Someone wanted Moretti to find you. What? I've hidden your identity for 24 years. His voice became almost emotionless. No one outside my inner circle knew who you were. Sophia felt a chill run through her body. So someone sold me. Damiano didn't answer. He didn't need to. That evening, Bella Vista Hotel, one of Damiano's safest private properties. Sophia sat alone inside an enormous luxury suite overlooking the Chicago skyline. The room felt beautiful, but not comforting. Outside the door, 2 female security officers stood guard. Across the hallway, 4 armed bodyguards. On the rooftop, snipers. Every elevator had been locked. Every entrance monitored. She suddenly realized this wasn't protection. It was imprisonment disguised as safety. A quiet knock interrupted her thoughts. Damiano entered carrying a tray. Not champagne. Not expensive wine. Just homemade tomato soup, fresh bread, And hot tea. Sophia looked surprised. You brought dinner? I noticed you didn't eat. You cook? My grandmother insisted. A tiny smile almost escaped her. Almost. He placed a tray on the table. I'll leave. Before he reached the door, Sophia spoke. Wait. He stopped, without turning around. You've been protecting me since I was 5. Yes. You've watched me, only from a distance. You knew where I lived. Yes. You knew every birthday. Silence. You knew every school. Another silence. You watched my graduation. He finally answered. I stood across the street. Sophia slowly looked at him. You were there. I never missed one. Tears filled her eyes again. You saw everything, except my life. The sentence hit him harder than any bullet. She stood, walked toward the window. I needed someone after my mother died. Silence. I needed someone after my uncle passed away. Silence again. I needed someone when I lost my apartment. Still silence. Then she quietly asked, Why didn't you come? Damiano closed his eyes. Because the answer had haunted him for years. I was afraid. She turned sharply. You? The most feared man in Chicago? He nodded once. I was afraid that if I stepped into your life, I'd destroy it. Neither noticed the tiny red light blinking beneath the smoke detector. A hidden camera, installed only hours earlier, far across the city, inside an abandoned riverside warehouse. Alessandro Moretti watched the live video feed. He smiled slowly. So, he paused the recording on the image of Damiano standing only a few feet away from Sophia. You finally found her. One of his captains asked, What now? Alessandro leaned back in his chair. No, we don't kill her. The captain looked confused. Then what? Alessandro's smile widened. We make her believe that Damiano is the reason her mother died. He closed the laptop. If she walks away from him willingly, it will hurt far more than any bullet. Miles away, Sophia stood silently by the rain-streaked window, unaware that the greatest danger was no longer the bullets fired at her boutique. It was the lie that had already begun to take shape around her. Rain returned before dawn. The Chicago skyline disappeared beneath thick gray clouds as lightning rolled across Lake Michigan. Inside Bella Vista Hotel, silence filled the luxurious suite. Sophia hadn't slept. She stood barefoot beside the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching rain race down the glass. Everything she thought she knew about her life had changed in less than 24 hours. Her mother, the blue dress, Damiano, the promise, the war, none of it felt real. Yet every answer only created another question. A soft knock interrupted the silence. Damiano entered carrying breakfast. Fresh coffee, blueberry pancakes, fresh strawberries. The same breakfast Sophia always ordered at the cafe beside her boutique. She looked at the tray, then slowly looked at him. You remembered. I remember everything. His answer wasn't meant to impress her. It was simply the truth. He placed the tray on the table. You should eat. She didn't move. Instead, she quietly asked, Did you know my favorite breakfast before yesterday? He hesitated. Yes. And my favorite flowers? White peonies. My favorite author? Jane Austen. My birthday? October 12th. My coffee order? Vanilla latte with oat milk. Every answer tightened something inside her chest. She wanted to feel grateful. Instead, she felt exposed. You know everything about me. I tried not to, but you did. He lowered his eyes. Yes. Sophia slowly sat down. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. You don't have to decide today. She looked directly at him. I've spent my entire life believing I was alone. You weren't. No? No. His voice remained calm. I simply stayed where you couldn't see me. Before either of them could say another word, Marco burst into the room. His expression alone told Damiano something was terribly wrong. Boss, what happened? Marco handed him a tablet. Someone leaked classified archives. Damiano's face hardened. On the screen appeared a 24-year-old newspaper article. The headline read, Local woman killed after helping young mafia heir escape, shootout. Sophia slowly stood. Her breathing stopped. The article continued. Claire Bennett died after assisting 16-year-old Damiano De Luca during a mafia conflict outside St. Gabriel Church. She stared at the screen. Again and again. Every sentence felt like another knife. Finally, she whispered, "My mother died." "Because she helped you," Damiano answered honestly. "Yes." Silence. Then another article appeared. This one had never been published. A police report. Redacted. Confidential. Sophia's eyes widened. It claimed Claire Bennett had been targeted specifically because of Damiano. She slowly looked up. "So, if she'd never met you, she'd still be alive?" Damiano never answered, because there was no lie capable of making that pain disappear. Sophia stepped backward. One step, then another. "You promised to protect me." "I did, but I never needed protection until you came into our lives." The words struck harder than any bullet. Marco quietly looked away. Damiano remained perfectly still. His expression never changed. Only his eyes betrayed him. They carried 24 years of guilt. Sophia grabbed her coat. "I need air." Damiano instinctively stepped forward. "I'll have security escort you." "No, you can't leave alone." "I said no." His voice remained controlled. "Moretti knows who you are." "I don't care." "I do." Their eyes locked. For the first time, fear replaced curiosity. Not fear of the mafia. Fear of him. "I don't even know who you are anymore." Damiano's shoulders stiffened. "You know exactly who I am." "No. I know the man who watched me. The man who followed me. The man who built an empire around a promise." She wiped away tears. "But I don't know whether you saved my life or destroyed it." Then she walked out. Outside, rain poured relentlessly across Chicago. Sophia ignored every bodyguard following behind her. She crossed the street, kept walking. She didn't care where. She simply needed to escape. 3 blocks later, a familiar voice called softly, "Miss Bennett?" She turned. A woman in her 60s stood beneath a small umbrella. Elegant, kind eyes, silver hair. "You don't know me." The woman smiled sadly. "My name is Isabella Moretti." Sophia frowned. "Moretti? I knew your mother." Everything inside Sophia froze. Meanwhile, back at Bella Vista, Damiano stormed into the security command center. Every screen displayed different camera angles across downtown Chicago. "Fin here." One technician answered immediately. Visual contact maintained. Another interrupted. "Boss." Damiano turned. "What?" "She's speaking with Isabella Moretti." The room fell silent. Marco whispered, "Oh no." Across the street, Isabella gently handed Sophia an old photograph. It showed Claire Bennett smiling, standing beside Isabella, holding little Sophia. "You knew my mother?" "She was my closest friend." Sophia's voice trembled. "Then tell me, what really happened?" Isabella lowered her eyes. "Claire didn't die because she wanted to save Damiano." Sophia frowned. "What?" "She died because Damiano begged her to help him." The words echoed like thunder. "He promised he'd protect both of you. He failed." Sophia stared at the photograph. "He never told me that." "No." Isabella Saihu. "He never tells the painful parts." Sophia felt her heart breaking all over again. High above them, from the rooftop of a neighboring building, a sniper slowly adjusted his scope. Crosshairs settled perfectly. Not on Sophia, on Isabella. A calm voice spoke through the radio. "Wait." The sniper hesitated. "Boss?" Alessandro Moretti watched through binoculars. "If Isabella these, Sophia will believe Damiano silenced her." He smiled coldly. "Now." The trigger pulled. The gunshot echoed across downtown. Glass shattered nearby. Sophia instinctively looked up. Then, Isabella collapsed. Blood spread across her white coat. Sophia screamed. "No." People scattered in panic. Traffic stopped. Umbrellas fell to the sidewalk. Another shot rang out. Before Sophia could react, strong arms wrapped around her. Damiano. He had crossed half the street before the second bullet landed. He tackled Sophia behind a concrete planter. Bullets struck the stone above their heads. Fragments exploded around them. Sophia stared at him. Rain poured down his face. His breathing remained perfectly controlled. His body completely covered hers. Again, just like inside the boutique. "You followed me," she whispered. "I never stopped." Another shot. Damiano pulled her closer. "Stay down. You always knew where I was." "Yes. You never trusted me. I never trusted the world." His eyes searched every rooftop, calculating, waiting, protecting. Margot's voice crackled through Damiano's earpiece. "Sniper located. North rooftop." Damiano answered calmly. "Take him alive." Another pause. Then, "Boss." Marco sounded uneasy. "The sniper belongs to Moretti." Damiano closed his eyes for a brief second. Exactly as he feared. Alessandro hadn't wanted Sophia dead. He wanted her heart poisoned against Damiano. And judging by the confusion in her tear-filled eyes, the plan was already working. Sophia looked at Isabella lying motionless on the rain-soaked pavement, then back at Damiano. A terrible question escaped her lips. Was she killed? Because she talked to me? Damiano couldn't answer immediately. Because the truth was even worse. She had been killed. Because someone wanted Sophia to stop believing in the only man who had spent 24 years trying to keep his promise. And somewhere in the city, Alessandro Moretti smiled. The war had finally become personal. Rain continued to fall over Chicago. Police sirens echoed through the streets as paramedics rushed toward Isabella Moretti. Sophia knelt beside the older woman, her hands stained with blood. Please don't leave." Isabella struggled to breathe. Her fingers searched weakly for Sophia's hand, then finally found it. With what little strength she had left, she whispered, "Don't." Sophia leaned closer. "Don't let hatred choose for you." Her eyes slowly turned toward Damiano. She coughed violently, never stopped looking. Another breath. He kept his promise. Then her hand slipped from Sophia's. The world became silent. Sophia stared in disbelief. Tears blurred everything. Only one thought echoed inside her mind. Another innocent person had died because of this war. Damiano stood motionless a few feet away. He had seen death thousands of times. Enemies, friends, soldiers, family. Yet watching Sophia cry hurt more than every battlefield he had survived. For the first time in years, he hated being Damiano De Luca. That evening, Bellavista Manor, the largest mansion owned by the De Luca family. No bodyguards entered the library. No advisors interrupted. Only Damiano and Sophia remained. A fire crackled softly inside the stone fireplace. Neither of them spoke. Finally, Damiano broke the silence. "If you want to leave, I won't stop you." Sophia slowly looked up. "What?" "I made you part of my world. You never asked for it. You deserve the chance to walk away." She searched his face. For the first time, the most feared mafia boss in Chicago looked defeated. Not because he had lost a battle, because he believed he had lost her. Sophia quietly asked, "Did you really beg my mother to help you?" He closed his eyes. "Yes." She could have driven away. "Yes." But she didn't. "No." Because she chose compassion. Damiano nodded. "She saved a frightened 16-year-old boy." His voice grew quieter. "Not a mafia heir. A child." Silence filled the room again. Then he reached into his jacket. He removed the old silver locket and placed it gently on the table. "I've carried this every day. For 24 years. I promised myself that the day I found you, I'd give it back." Sophia slowly opened it. Inside was the faded photograph she had already seen. Behind it, a folded piece of paper. She carefully unfolded it. It wasn't a letter from Damiano. It was written in her mother's handwriting. "If Sophia ever reads this, it means you kept your promise. Don't let her spend her life hating you because of me. I knew exactly who you were when I chose to help you. Saving one frightened child was worth risking my own life. If my daughter grows up safe, tell her I would make the same choice again, every single time. Claire." Sophia couldn't stop crying. The paper trembled in her hands. Everything Alessandro Moretti had wanted her to believe collapsed in an instant. Her mother had never blamed Damiano. She had chosen, freely, knowingly, out of kindness. Exactly the kind of woman Sophia had always tried to become. She slowly looked toward Damiano. You never showed me this. I couldn't. Why? Because I was afraid. Afraid of what? His answer came almost as a whisper. That you'd still choose to leave. Before Sophia could answer, Marco rushed into the library. Boss. Damiano stood immediately. What happened? We found him. Moretti? Marco nodded. Old St. Gabriel Church. Damiano's expression changed. The church. The very place where everything had begun 24 years earlier. 1 hour later, lightning illuminated the abandoned cathedral. Rain poured through the broken roof. The old pews stood empty. Dust floated through the cold air. Alessandro Moretti waited alone before the altar. He smiled as Damiano entered. No army? Damiano answered calmly. You wanted me. I'm here. Alessandro laughed. You always were sentimental. His eyes shifted toward Sophia. She had insisted on coming. This, Alessandro smiled, is the little girl. Sophia stepped forward. You murdered my mother. Alessandro shrugged. Business. You murdered Isabella. Necessary. You destroyed hundreds of families. He laughed. That's what powerful men do. Damiano quietly removed his pistol. Alessandro smiled wider. There he is. The monster. Damiano raised the weapon. Every bodyguard inside the church reached for theirs. Sophia looked at him. His hands never shook, but his eyes did. Because this wasn't revenge anymore. It was a choice. He could kill Alessandro, continue the cycle, or end it. Sophia slowly walked toward him. She gently wrapped both hands around the gun, then lowered it. No. Damiano looked at her. He'll never stop. She nodded. Then don't become him. Silence. Long, heavy, painful. Then Damiano slowly released the weapon. It fell onto the stone floor. The sound echoed through the cathedral. At that exact moment, FBI agents stormed through every entrance. Federal agents. Nobody move. Alessandro's smile disappeared. He turned, only to find dozens of armed officers surrounding him. Marco quietly smiled. Damiano had planned this from the beginning. While everyone believed he was coming for revenge, he had secretly handed every document, every account, every witness to the federal government, not because he couldn't kill Alessandro, because he wanted the war to end forever. Alessandro screamed as agents forced him to his knees. You've become weak. Damiano looked at him one last time. No. I finally became free. 6 months later, Chicago looked different. No daily shootings. No mafia bombings. No corrupt judges disappearing overnight. The DeLuca criminal empire no longer existed. Damiano had dismantled it himself. Its legitimate businesses remained. Hotels, construction companies, charities, everything illegal had been surrendered. Marco now managed a business empire legally. Former bodyguards worked as licensed private security. For the first time in decades, the DeLuca name appeared in newspapers for rebuilding neighborhoods instead of controlling them. Meanwhile, Bennett Atelier had become one of Chicago's most celebrated independent fashion houses. Sophia's designs appeared on magazine covers. Celebrities wore her gowns. But inside the boutique, one dress still remained exactly where it had always been. The blue dress, still resting beneath its warm spotlight, still not for sale. One quiet autumn evening, the boutique door opened. Sophia looked up. Damiano entered carrying white peonies. No bodyguards, no convoy, no black SUVs. Just one man. He smiled. A genuine smile. One she had waited months to see. You closed early. I had a feeling someone was coming. He looked toward the blue dress. I suppose. It's still not for sale. She laughed softly. Never. He nodded. I hope so. She walked toward the mannequin. carefully removed the blue dress, then turned back toward him. "I've been thinking." Damiano waited. "My mother made this dress to protect a little girl." She placed it gently into his hands. "But I don't need protection from it anymore." He looked confused. Sophia smiled. "I'd rather keep the promise alive by making something new." She took his hand. Together, they carried the dress upstairs to a small glass display overlooking the boutique. Beneath it rested Claire Bennett's handwritten note. A simple plaque was added beneath the display. "One promise, one dress, one family." Customers often asked why that single blue dress was never sold. Sophia would simply smile. "Because some dresses aren't made to be worn forever. They're made to remind us that kindness can change the course of an entire lifetime." Damiano quietly looked at her. "You know, I bought every dress in this boutique, except one." She smiled knowingly. "I know." He stepped closer. "Do you finally understand why?" She rested her forehead against his. "Yes. You weren't searching for the dress." His gray eyes softened. "No, I was searching for the little girl who wore it. And I finally found her." Sophia kissed him gently. Outside, the evening lights reflected across rain-soaked Chicago streets. For the first time in 24 years, the promise made inside a burning church no longer belonged to guilt. It belonged to hope. As they stood together, watching customers admire the blue dress through the boutique window, Damiano realized that the greatest thing he had ever protected wasn't a promise. It was the chance for two broken lives to become one future. And somewhere beyond the city lights, it almost felt as though Claire Bennett was smiling.